Flock, what's going on? It is a Victory Monday in Baltimore. It is the 14th of October, and it is 10:07 a.m. Eastern. Today's live stream is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group, and I see some of you are new to the stream. Sunday Golfer 79, first live stream. Happy Victory Monday to you as well, Sunday Golfer 79, and I'm glad you guys can be with me. I'm Bobtrosset. As always, this is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond, and the Ravens are now 4-2 through 6 weeks of football, thanks to that 30-23 victory over the Washington Commanders. The Battle of the Beltway is won by Baltimore, at least for the next 4 years. That'll be the case. And so far, through 6 weeks, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, just as we all had it, right, stand atop the AFC North at 4-2. Cincy gets its second win of the year last night on Sunday Night Football in New York against the Giants in the Meadowlands. They are now 2-4. And the Browns are an utter disaster at 1-5, and they just look like they are sunk. We'll have that conversation another time. There's no way that you can convince me that you can't. I should say, you can't convince me that the Deshaun Watson $230 million contract that he signed with the Cleveland Browns is not the worst acquisition, the worst deal in the history of pro sports. But again, that's neither here nor there. Let's dive into the conversation. Former NFL quarterback Matt Ryan, who is now an analyst for CBS Sports, I thought had a great breakdown of what makes the Ravens so scary throughout this 4-game stretch. We saw it yesterday, and I'll just start with this. Consider this. The Ravens have 2 closers. They have 2 Mariano Rivera's. They have 2 future Hall of Famers, and they are both on the offensive side of the ball, and one does what the other can't, and vice versa. They give you such a blend. They give you such a level of explosiveness, a certain margin for error, and that, of course, is Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, who, damn it, right now through 6 weeks, you got to look at them both as MVP candidates. Here is what Matt Ryan had to say yesterday on the CBS Sports postgame show about these Ravens.
Last couple of weeks, just think about how well this offense is grooving. You got the tight ends that are making plays. Wide receivers are now stepping up and saying, hey, Derrick Henry, you don't need to hold us down all game long. You could take a couple of quarters off and then close it out just like a pitcher in Major League Baseball. But the one thing I can appreciate about this team, if they go up against a squad that wants to bring the heat, because that was the Commanders, they blitz 40% of the time. Lamar Jackson versus the blitz today, 10 for 11, 162 yards, which means if you're going to bring the heat, then I'm going to turn up the flame a little bit on your defense.
And what I saw was all of that pressure was him delivering from the pocket.
Yes.
Right? And that, to me, is the scariest thing if you're going against the Ravens. He's got the ability. We saw the QB run where he's outside of it. He can burn you with his legs. I think he had 40 yards rushing today. But delivering from the pocket over the middle of the field to the outsides, using all of the different targets that we saw today, that's a dangerous Lamar Jackson.
Burleson began that. And then, of course, Matt Ryan was the second voice that you just heard there, courtesy of CBS. And you see the graphic on screen here in terms of what the Ravens offense has done the last 2 games. And what they've done is demoralize their opponents. They hung 41 in Cincinnati, 520 total yards, 6.8 yards per play. And then yesterday against Washington, 30 points, of course, 484 total yards, 7.4 yards per play. And this is a historic run that they're on right now. Take a look at these numbers right here. This is the most consecutive games with 100-plus rushing yards in NFL history. Okay, we all remember the 2018 to 2021 Ravens, that 43-game streak, which tied the Pittsburgh Steelers from 1974 to 1977. Well, these current Ravens are in the midst of a pretty darn good historical streak, and they're coming up on their previous one. This one is 2022 to the present time, and it's 39 straight games with 100-plus rushing yards. And again, this is a historic NFL list right here. So they did it without Derrick Henry. They're doing it with Derrick Henry, and they're just giving you so much variety offensively right now We haven't even we've talked about the two closers. We haven't talked about these other complementary pieces as well, which is one of the main reasons why this offense is firing on all cylinders. Zay Flowers leads the way yesterday with a game-high 9 receptions for 132 receiving yards. He was targeted 9 times. He caught all 9 footballs. Rashod Bateman continues to be a complementary piece, what we've all been waiting for. 4 receptions for 71 yards. He's a chain mover. He's a silky route runner. Mark Andrews, 3 receptions for 66 yards. He had a touchdown. Do you see the emotion pouring out at 89 after he hauled in that catch? I mean, you don't think it meant something to this guy, how selfless he's been so far through the opening part of this season, not making any noise, not making any kind of outbursts emotionally. He is a team player, and there's a bunch of them on this roster, what I love to refer to as glue guys. They just do the things, the small little things between the lines, whether it be blocking, whether it be certain assignments drawn, whether it be accepting their role, playing special teams in some cases. Think about Justice Hill, what he's done. How about the blitz pickups from yesterday? So this is the type of championship winning DNA, the makeup that you have to have. And I think that it's just undeniable the Ravens have that within their locker room, within their culture. So you heard what Matt Ryan had to say. And let's keep this conversation moving. I'm glad you guys are with me today. They're just getting so many different contributions across the board. Let's begin with the King. 132 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is history. The King is defying NFL historical odds at his position. And I'm going to tell you why. This dude is an ascending player at 30. Somebody who will turn 31 before the end of this season. And he's playing some of the best football of his storied career. Look at what Field Yates compiled here earlier this morning. First and foremost, he is on pace for just south of 2,000 rushing yards, 1,995 to be exact, and 26 total touchdowns. Okay? That is MVP-like from 22, and he just so happens to have a teammate who is also playing MVP-like. We'll get to number 8 in just a bit. But look at the way that Derrick has started to round out into form here in recent weeks. A slow start to the season, 13 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown opening night in Kansas City. 18 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown in that loss to Vegas week 2. They were 0-2. And look at what happened since. Down to Dallas, 25 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Buffalo, primetime game in Baltimore, 24 carries, 199 yards, 2 total touchdowns. Last week, game of the year maybe, in Cincy, 15 carries, 92 yards, a touchdown, including that 51-yard burst in overtime. He had just over 40 yards through 4 quarters. You go into overtime, good night. That's the closer. That's the Mariano Rivera that they took a bet on, right? That's the type of player that they were willing to risk spending some significant free agency money on day 2 back in March, who a lot of people had written off. As Geno Smith once proclaimed, I'm going to tell you what, King might be saying that at some point this year as well. They tried to write me off, and I did not write back. Well, thankfully, you did not write back, Derrick, because you are playing some really high-level football right now and opening up this offense in ways that a lot of us only could have ever imagined, playing alongside Lamar and this duo together. And, of course, yesterday, as I mentioned, just to round out that 6-week game-by-game production, 24 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns yesterday. He is racking up touchdowns. He is wearing down defenses. He is giving Todd Monken such an opportunity to, and by the way, both finishing runs in the overtime period in Cincinnati and in the fourth quarter yesterday. These were both pitch calls, right? Whether it was pull and pitch Todd Monken called very similar plays back-to-back weeks, and Derrick Henry did the rest. Like, this dude just brings an element to this Baltimore offense that we have not seen in the Lamar era. And it has to be so incredibly demoralizing for opposing teams. Listen to Brian Baldinger's breakdown.
To see the king in the fourth quarter when they're getting beaten, like they have been in the last 3 weeks. Ricard is the fullback. Derrick Henry's dot in the eye. Buffalo down 28-10. Nobody really wants to see the king. Nobody really wants to tackle the king. They might run into their own man, but Derrick Henry is going to get his biggest runs in the fourth quarter. It happens every week with the lead. Cincinnati, 38-38 in overtime. There's Ricard. There's the I formation. And here's the Bengals. Do they really want to tackle the king in overtime after all these plays? They're getting a little tired. He's big and he's fast. Are they really running to get to the king when he goes for 51 yards, his biggest run of the day, setting up the game-winning field goal? Yesterday against the Commanders, they got a 30-23 lead. Where'd they go to? I formation. Here you go. Do they really want to tackle the king late fourth quarter here? Here it is. I formation. Ricard. McCarry gets a little chip on Bobby Wagner. Maybe that's all he needed. Everybody else is kind of tripping also over here. And there goes the king into the alley. He's an alley cat in the fourth quarter. Nobody really can tackle him. Nobody really wants to tackle him. It's just the effect of Derrick Henry, the league's leading rusher.
Brian Baldinger talking about Derrick Henry's performance. I'm going to react to that in just a second. My, oh my, nobody wants to tackle the king, and those highlights certainly suggest that. Today's live stream is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group, and man, I was so surprised and touched by this new man cave feature that they surprised me with yesterday at the Be More Around Town tailgate. So thrilled to be partnering up with Preston now for a whole calendar year. And look at that in the left-hand side. They gave me this new poster, a Bobby Baltimore poster with some Preston branding around it. So a really cool future man cave item for the wall. And just so you know, at Preston, Bobby Baltimore subscribers receive 2 exclusive offers. You got $500 towards a new or pre-owned vehicle. All you have to do is mention my name. Or when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. And we just got a Tua Tagovailoa update, and I was just curious about what's going on here. Sorry, this is just losing my train of thought. Mike McDaniel tells reporters that Tua will not play this week, but is expected to resume playing in 2024. Okay, so I don't think that was previously yet known because of all of his concussion symptoms and what's happened in the past. So sorry, lost my train of thought there. But at Preston, again, Preston Automotive, $500 towards a newer pre-owned vehicle, or when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. You've got over 2,000 vehicles to shop from. Home delivery is available. You'd be joining the Preston team along with Kyle Hamilton, Mark Andrews. Both those guys are brand ambassadors, and I am as well. Many more use Preston throughout the Baltimore area and beyond. Cars cost less with Preston. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com. That is included in the show notes below, or just simply scan the QR code that you see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen right now. Let's keep things moving and talk a little bit about what you just heard from Brian Baldinger. Because when Derrick Henry gets to the second level, good night. Good night. Linebackers want nothing to do with this guy, especially having gotten trounced for 4 quarters, multiple hours. And that's the closer mentality. That's this element of just straight up, we are going to outwork you. We are going to demoralize you over 4 quarters, and we expect you to crack at some point. And I thought Baldy did a good job, like in this section of his clip, explaining and showing specific areas why it's clear.
Here it is. I formation. Ricard. McCarry gets a little chip on Bobby Wagner. Maybe that's all he needed. Everybody else is kind of tripping also over here. And there goes the king into the alley. He's an alley cat in the fourth quarter. Nobody really can tackle him. nobody really wants to tackle him. It's just the effect of Derrick Henry, the league's leading rusher.
That's right. And look at Pat Ricard. Look at 42 with him. Always clearing the way in the Ravens' heavy personnel and sets that are just so dominant. And again, variety driven. Over 400 of you joining me today on this day after Ravens Commanders live stream. Baltimore improves to 4-2 with a 30-23 victory over Washington in a battle of the Beltway. It was a glorious Sunday in Baltimore. Thank you to Be More Around Town for having me out to do my pregame show. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to me and Sarah last night and our postgame show. In a little over an hour and a half, we'll have our, of course, daily Ravens lunch hour live stream over on the Vault side of things coming up at 12 noon Eastern. Let's keep things going here. Lamar, MVP 3 maybe, or MV3, excuse me. 363 all-purpose yards, a passer rating of 114.7. If that's not enough for you, he broke Cam Newton's second all-time. I shouldn't say he didn't break a record. He just surpassed Cam Newton in terms of total rushing yards at the quarterback position all time in the NFL, and he is closing in on Michael Vick. That record will not stand. I can assure you of that. Okay, so he's climbing the list there. Oh, yeah, and by the way, he was dead accurate. Look at what he did the last couple weeks on throws past the sticks. 25 of 35, 439 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. That's clean football and a PFF grade of 93.3. He is 22-1 now against NFC opponents. He will see another one. The Ravens will as well. Coming up next week, Monday Night Football in Tampa. We'll have a lot to talk about throughout the week, of course, related to Baker Mayfield's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the guy is playing at an MVP level, and his mistakes are just so minor in the big picture. Both of his interceptions so far this season, only 2, by the way, through 6 weeks, have come due to his pass catchers having butterfingers. One was Rashod Bateman. I think that was the Vegas game, if I'm not mistaken. And then yesterday was Mark Andrews. Was it a perfect throw on the money? No, but it's one that Mark Andrews has to bring down. And that was on that opening drive, which gave Washington some early life as the Ravens sort of limped out of the gates just ever so slightly. But credit to them. They had a short memory and quickly moved on past that with a dominant second drive. The Ravens had drives, by the way, touchdown drives of 94 and 93 yards, respectively. That is just methodical. That is just demoralizing for a defense. That's the way Todd Monken's got this team working right now, and it is such a joy to watch this team just work its way down the field. A bunch of different pass catchers getting involved. John Stockton, a.k.a. Lamar Jackson, I've used that reference a couple times this season already. He continues to just spread the rock around. Zay caught 9 footballs. Rashod caught 4. Mark caught 3. Likely caught 2. And Nelly and Justice each had 1 apiece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pass catchers. The fact that Lamar Jackson no longer has to lead this team in rushing, which is what he's done in the past, is just such a luxury. And it's got to be such a weight lifted. He'll never say it, but it's got to be such a weight that's been lifted off of his shoulders. Oh, by the way, he still chipped in 40 yards on 11 carries, a couple of which were just beautifully designed quarterback runs that Todd Monken continues to draw up. Here's more from Baldy on Lamar Jackson's day against the Commanders.
Just keeps getting better and better, if that's possible, for the 2-time MVP. He's directing all the traffic. He's the maestro. So, play action fake to Henry right here. And he's going to hit Zay Flowers across the middle with a no-look pass. And the ball is perfect. In fact, all 9 passes to Zay Flowers were perfect. He was 9 for 9 yesterday to this number 1 wide receiver, Zay Flowers. What a connection those two have become. And are they the best offense in all of football?
Sure seems like that. You could convince me of such. You certainly could. And look at what Zay did. Again, we mentioned it, and you just heard there from Baldy. 132 receiving yards, 9 receptions, all of which was in the first half. The guy was going crazy, whether it was bubble screens, whether it was the intermediate game, yak yards. Like, the dude is just, he may not be, when you go around the league, okay, he may not be a number one wide receiver for all 32 teams. But what he's proving in year 2, and what he proved at times in flashes last year, is that he's certainly more than capable of being Baltimore's number one wide receiver. He consistently gives you all-out effort. He is as enthusiastic and as passionate of a player as the Ravens have ever had from an offensive standpoint at that wide receiver position. He's so shifty, makes you miss, insane vertical type of burst, straight line speed, of course, good route runner, reliable pair of hands. He's playing some good ball. And I cannot actually speak highly enough of what Rashod Bateman had to say after the game. Gianna Hahn of the Baltimore Banner put this up on X. And she wrote a very humble quote about Zay from Rashod after he had his own best game, Rashod did. And here's the quote. Everybody knows Zay is our wide receiver 1. So it's good to see him put up numbers and feel like he's wide receiver 1. He's up there with other guys in the category, so it's good to see him have those games. And I'm going to tell you what we're seeing right now from Rashod, and it's not just this week. This has been more often than not this season, is someone who is comfortable in his own skin. Somebody who's comfortable in his own role. And somebody that's contributing. Rashod is showing all of us this growth journey that he's on, not just from an on-field standpoint, with the way in which he's starting to stack as a complementary piece to this offensive puzzle. But I'm talking about the off-the-field stuff. Social media behavior in post-game interviews. This right here may seem like it's subtle, may seem like it's a small thing. I think it's anything but. This is the type of stuff that when championship teams start to get concocted, start to mold in the middle of a season, and you're on a run the way the Ravens have been over the last month, ripping off 4 straight wins since going 0-2, and you're getting consistent contribution performances from a Rashod Bateman, a former first-round pick, the much maligned, right? The highly polarizing figure, somebody who has been dissected to no end, some of which has been deserving. But that to me is such a sign, such an indication of what's going on internally. They understand what's at stake. Here he is post-game, courtesy of the Baltimore Banner.
For him to get that first touchdown of the year, he had quite a scream and quite excited after that score. Yeah, what did you see there?
I definitely understand. Y'all know Mark went down with a tough injury last year, so coming back off of that, being able to, feel some joy. Trust me, I know. I get it, so I feel for him. So it was good to see Mark happy.
You've obviously been through a lot physically.
Yeah.
You've said you felt like yourself, and just waiting for the results. For the results to show up today, does it feel like kind of good that you're rewarded for all your hard work?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The way I feel right now, I'm just hungry for more. I'm thankful and blessed to be out there, but I've never been moving as well, playing as well, and happy and blessed. And I'm excited for more to come. Always staying hungry right now.
And knowing Lamar is going to find you and put it on you, too, right now, the way he is playing quarterback, can you describe what you're seeing out of 8?
It's the 8 ball, man. You got to roll the dice. A lot of people can say what they want to say, but, I mean, it speaks for itself, man. I don't know what else I want the guy to do. So, I'm excited to see him play this week.
That's a comfortable guy right there. I love his demeanor. I love his body language. I love his on-field play. He has been big on third downs this year. He has had a good pair of hands for the most part. We all know he's a technician from a route running standpoint, so that'll never be questioned. That never has been questioned. Rashod Bateman in year 4 with the fifth-year option being declined this past offseason, signing a very team-friendly extension that keeps him in Baltimore through 2026. Arguably the most pressure entering this year than any other player in this club. I just got to tip my cap to what I'm seeing from Seven these days, and I am genuinely happy. You guys know there's been a lot of noise out there from this channel, other channels, nationally, regionally, locally. There has been a lot of noise and critique about Rashod over the last few years. And a lot of that, again, is deserving. But at the same time, this is a guy who has dealt with his fair share of personal issues off the field, somebody that has been inconsistent when he is available and has a lot of unavailability on his last few years because of injuries that obviously he couldn't have prevented. So it's got to be really, really sweet. If it's sweet for us on this side, it's got to be extra sweet for Rashod Bateman on his side of things, who's really becoming a contributing force for Todd Monken's offense. And I, for one, am absolutely thrilled for Rashod. The guest lines are open. Chef and Julian are waiting in the waiting room, as they always do on a Monday. Looking forward to hearing from you guys in just a bit. But Kyle Phoenix here is logging and keeping track of MVP Lamar last year to certainly the candidate that he is through 6 weeks of football this year. And here it is. He's got Lamar's 2024 to date versus Lamar's 2023, and he's comparing the first 6 games, like I mentioned. So 276 more passing yards this year compared to last. He's got 5 more passing touchdowns, 9 fewer sacks taken. We got to shout out the offensive line. I can't believe I haven't mentioned those boys yet, because over the last few weeks, and you guys can talk all you want. Oh, you're not dropping back a lot. Those stats are skewed. Whatever. You can have you have those thoughts. They are pass protecting their asses off right now. They're getting open rushing lanes. They're moving bodies at the point of attack. And this is a group that people are talking about as, I think Chase Daniel actually referred to it yesterday on Twitter as one of the best offensive line units in the entire league. Imagine that a month ago. 47 fewer sack yards, 76 more rushing yards on just 4 more carries compared to last year, 0.85 more yards per carry, 2 fewer rushing touchdowns. That's obviously a Derrick Henry statistic, and 1 fewer fumbles lost. Holy hell. MV3. Lamar is averaging 6.3 yards per carry. And Derrick Henry, 5.9 yards per carry. This is just stupid. This is just stupid in the best of ways. And my oh my, has it been fun to watch. To the guest lines we go on this day after. Julian, let's get you in here. And Chef, you'll be coming. Actually, you know what, Chef? You beat Julian in. I forgot. I just didn't see your camera on. Let's go chronological. All right. Guest lines are open. We appreciate you guys for being here. Over 600 of you concurrently watching today. As always, this is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. And shall we talk a little bit of Victory Monday formation? What you got for me, Chef?
Man, it's nice that it's a Victory Monday. One thing that I wanted to hit on, that offensive line. I mean, again, first two weeks, it was rough. It was rough. Didn't really know who was going to be there. I mean, of course, with left side of the line, we were like, well, yeah, Ronnie's a shoe-in, Voorhees is holding up, and of course, you got Linderbaum. But now, as we're already like 6 weeks through, I mean, you're obviously not going to win every rep, but it feels like the offense line just gets better and better each week. So it's just hard to look at this offense and say like, teams are going to figure it out. They're going to get, they're going to get their tails whooped because the offensive line isn't going to hold up with the run or the pass game, because right now they're showing proof that like nobody can stop it. So
think about it too, the amount of different combinations that they've had. I mean, even in the last couple of weeks, it may seem minor, But Andrew Voorhees goes down, they don't skip a beat. And they don't skip a beat because of Patrick McCarry's versatility that we always talk about. So, here's the tricky thing moving forward, is Andrew on the outside looking in, because this group is playing really well. And granted, there's going to be better defensive fronts than what they've seen the last couple of weeks coming up, no question. But Stanley, McCary, Linderbaum, Lele, and Rosengarten left to right, starting five, hard to move away from that. And I think, barring something unforeseen about where Andrew's ankle was going into this weekend, I'd have to think that Harbaugh and company, George Warhop, are like, what kind of message would be sending this group if we go back to what we had? It's not like they don't trust Andrew Voorhees. It's just a matter of kind of like Justin Fields in Pittsburgh right now. They're winning games. You can't bench him for Russell. You can't. That's malpractice.
Yeah. I also don't think Mike Tomlin would ever really go for it, because I mean, it's kind of crazy to say that. Like, I feel like even though they have so many just like either first round exits in the playoff in like X amount of years, I feel like at no point has Mike Tomlin ever really lost the locker room. And I feel like if he were to bench Justin Fields and then they start losing games, I do feel like they would kind of lose the locker room in a way. And the other thing I want to say is, it feels good not seeing the Ravens panic, especially when something bad happens, like the interception, and then what was it? I think it was the following drive or the drive maybe after that, Linderbaum kind of botched the snap and just kind of pushed it through his legs. It just feels good not seeing them panic and just be like, well, now we got to just air it out and try and catch up, because we should be up by 20-some points. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. It's a good win. It's a good solid win. We didn't panic. It feels good.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with the whole snap operation. Lots of botched snaps, 3 in the last 2 weeks, whether it's been Linderbaum or Lamar. So that's
Is that
got to
concerning?
I mean,
it's all pro center. So
I was gonna say,
is it concerning, or is it just like just things happen?
Oh yeah, you hope it's just a fluke. You can't. I think it's too premature to call it a trend, obviously too. But yeah, to your point, 3 double-digit deficits erased a week ago in Cincy, and when Washington makes its run and closes within 1 possession in the late in the second half, yesterday they stick to their guns and they use the closer, and that's kind of the big takeaway. I think today, the day after, is that for once in Lamar's life, he's got a co-closer, and I think that knows no bounds. That's demoralizing. We saw it last week with Derrick having 41 or 42 rushing yards going into overtime. He finishes with 91 or 92. That 51 burst, you see the burst that he gave you. What was it, 31, I think, in the fourth quarter yesterday. So that's the type of thing. We're literally talking about an ascending player at 30 who's on pace for just 5 yards south of 2,000 rushing yards and 26 total touchdowns through 6 weeks.
Hey, a whole lot more business decisions are going to be had by defensive teams when they got to face Henry and Lamar. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes.
Pray for all future second levels that have to deal with 22 coming downhill, because that's just a damn shame. Chef, appreciate you, brother. Enjoy your day.
No problem.
Day after live stream. Glad you guys are here. Over 600 of you joining me concurrently. Prince Lee wants to know, what's up, Prince? I see you mixing it up in that live chat. You want to know where the you're always showing me love. He wants to know where the Cash App is, because you don't want YouTube taking your cut. You're hilarious. I love it. I love the businessman in you. Venmo, Cash App, YouTube Super Chat feature, all great areas to show the channel some love. I appreciate you guys. Let's get Julian in here. And again, Ravens 4-2, 4 straight W's, with Tampa Bay looming in Buccaneers country coming up on Monday night. Let's see if that game's played in Tampa Bay. They have a lot of post-hurricane, post-tropical storm issues down there with damage. And obviously, the west coast of Florida, certain areas, Tampa included, got hit very, very hard last week. So let's see if anything comes of that this week. Julian, talk to me. Happy day after. Happy Victory Monday to you, my friend.
Hey, Bobby, how's it going, man? Like I said yesterday when I gave you guys that super chat yesterday, wasn't really worried about this game too much at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't really, stress over it like previous other games. This game felt like, okay, they're up and coming ascending team, so we should be able to handle them. It felt like for me, it felt like it was going to be like one of those Detroit Lions statement games that we did last year or something like that. It felt like that type of vibe, but it was relatively close. But obviously, we pulled away at the end because our offense is just humming right now and unstoppable. And
Dude, did you see the time? Did you hear the time of possession statistic that we shared on last night's post?
yeah, I seen it, dude. That
Just in case you guys haven't,
dominated.
this is absurd. Just in case you guys tune in today, maybe didn't catch it last night. The Raven, this was like 2019 statistic error
Yeah,
right here.
it
They
was
possessed the football for 36 minutes and 8 seconds. Washington had it for 23:52. That is just demoralizing. And like I mentioned, the two drives that stick out to me, 94 and 93 yards respectively. That's
mm,
just bone crushing. That's that's
insane.
just that's just that's just defeating types of drives right there,
Hmm.
where you're holding the football and Jaden Daniels and company just have to sit there and wait.
Just
And it's not like you're
just
getting
killing
cold
it.
because it was freaking hot as hell yesterday in Baltimore.
Yeah,
There were certain
81
areas of the
degrees.
stadium that I would imagine people like myself, fair skin, would have gotten torched,
Right.
depending on where you were in the lower bowl or up top. But
Hmm.
that is just so hard to keep in rhythm. And then when you play a clean game, penalized just 3 times, which negated
Mm,
33 yards, right? You're 6 for
hmm.
10 on third down. Like that is a winning formula right there. And as I always mention too, like the 3 T's. I always used to say this on the Ravens radio postgame show. When you win the 3 T's, you got a pretty darn good chance. And what do I mean by that? Third down efficiency. You win that. You don't win the turnover battle, surprisingly, and you still win the game. So I guess you got 2 of the 3 T's: third down
Right.
efficiency and time of possession. You didn't win the turnover battle, but it didn't come back to bite you. And that's just tough from a Washington perspective right there as an opponent.
Yeah, absolutely, Bobby. When you win those, like you said, the 3 T's right there, you're gonna obviously win the games and limit the penalty yards that don't kill you in games. That's gonna, really allow you to win a lot of games in this league. And, you know, the Ravens have been the most penalized team so far these few couple weeks. So it's refreshing to see them lower the penalty yards yesterday and have that on the Commanders yesterday. So that's refreshing to see. Hopefully they can go forward, use that method and keep that going. It's gonna be tough though, because sometimes in games you just never know the heat of the battle. You'll get a penalty yards that you just don't expect, and no one, oh, that's not a penalty. But then again, you look back at it, okay, maybe it is a penalty. So, that aspect, I think they'll be good in that aspect. But obviously, the big other issue is still the pass defense and the communication issues. Again, and one thing I will look at is the touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin, and I think his first touchdown pass. I think that James Daniels had Marcus Williams fooled on the back of the end zone, and I guess he was delayed right there. And then I guess he was trying to look to see what he was going to do and just fooled him. And you know, again, Marcus Williams with the communication issues and secondary communication issues again. Hopefully that gets fixed. I don't know. It's week 6, about to be week 7, so we'll see. And
Yeah,
then pass rush too.
and that
Still,
specific play, that specific play that you're referencing,
hmm
Stevens got dusted off the line,
oh
right? So Stevens is playing catch up,
man,
and
don't
then
get me.
Marcus gets fooled badly by Jaden's eyes, looked him
Yeah,
off for a half second, and lofted it over him
yeah,
to McLaurin in the back of the end zone. So there were
yeah,
two things, and I think some people were upset that I only singled out Marcus. I didn't mean to do that on Twitter. It was just sort of the in-game live tweeting. And when you go
yeah,
back and look, it's clear that Stevens got dusted off the line by McLaurin. He was trailing him hard, and then Marcus was forced to make a decision on the back end there, and he just made the wrong play. Or, it was just, look, there were a couple of times where you just have to tip your cap to
hmm
what Jaden Daniels is as a rookie. He is
right,
savvy. His vision, I thought Tony Romo did a great job of breaking down the way in which he uses his vision as a
yeah,
strength. And particularly the touchdown to McLaurin on the left-hand side of the end zone in the fourth. I
hmm
think it was in the It was in the second half. It might have been in the fourth quarter. Steven, you literally have to tip your cap. I mean, he was with him stride for stride. He was as sticky as you can be, and yet Jaden put it in an area where only Terry could get it, and it's just
Exactly.
better football.
It is, and I've been saying, Brandon Stevens, he's playing sticky coverage, but the problem is this year, and I think a lot of fans can attest to this, he doesn't look back for the football. I mean, dude, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like everybody I've seen on Twitter or everybody I've seen online is saying, Brandon, turn your head. Turn your head, Brandon. Please turn your head. And he still doesn't do it. I mean, he didn't have that type of problem last year, but I don't know what's going on with him this year. I mean,
Well, you know what's funny
hopefully
about it, Joel, is like
yeah.
what's kind of funny about it is that he's so sticky
Yeah.
that as long as it's not a big body receiver like Keon Coleman,
Yeah.
then chances are he's so on top of you, running stride for stride,
Yeah.
that the football is not going to be able to get into your breadbasket because he's literally right on top of you. But then when you get
Exactly.
the big bodies, the Keon
That's what we
Colemans who picked on him on that left-hand side of the sideline on Sunday Night Football, that's the struggle. And so,
yeah.
that is definitely a trend that I think a lot of us have seen in terms of his technique in single, man coverage, sometimes on an
Mhm.
island. He is fearless, and I got a lot of respect for him as a player. He's coming off a breakout season. But that's
Right.
definitely been a knock on him so far this year. I am with you there.
Yeah, he definitely got to fix it. I think he will, but it's just if he just learns to turn his head around, just turn your head around. That's all you got to do, and he should be fine. Definitely Tampa Bay is going to be a tough one coming up this
Yes.
week. But
They put up a 50 burger.
50
burger.
50.
Are you kidding me? 51, just destroying New Orleans. And now Tampa hosts Baltimore. We think they're going to host them down there. Let's see what happens with all the.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a really really tough one. Now that kind of is in my line of trap game, but I think we should pull that off.
Yep.
In a close one, but that we gotta be careful of that one. But I'll let you go, Bobby.
All right, brother. My father's calling me in too. He's here right now, and he's here. Watch this. You're live right now. What do you want?
Listen, I'm going back to Vicky's right now because I don't want to get you cold food, but it stops at 11 breakfast, which I probably get there just in time. But I'm gonna get some soup. There's a really good soup if you want to go a different direction than.
Oh goodness.
Got that option too.
Well, there's 581 people who want breakfast as well. Can you supply them as well?
That would be
All right,
nice.
Jewel, I'll let you go, brother. I'll talk to you.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate you
Thanks.
calling in. I'm sticking with the same order. I'm live literally right now, Holmes.
Let's go. All right, you want the sandwich? Okay. All right, the outside chance that I get there. Let's see what the time is. I'm gonna be right back. It closes. It's time for breakfast at 11. I'm gonna get there at 10:40, 10:58. So.
Hopefully Vicky will honor that 11 a.m. because I want some over easy eggs with sausage, hash browns, and some rye bread with jelly.
You want soup for later? Chicken noodle, chicken dumpling.
Sure, chicken and noodle, but everybody wants. Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure you get there. It's 10:51.
All right, I'm going, Brody.
All righty, we'll see you in a little bit. This guy, man. Got a lot of family in town. I feel like every home game I get family in town. Man, I got another copyright violation that I just got a notification on, and I got to turn off my notifications too because they pop up during my live streams. Unbelievable. I'm telling you, man, the NFL is tough. Super tough. Well, okay, so my father's got breakfast, and he's trying to figure that out. Who knows how that's going to work. But Sarah and I have an 11 a.m. pre-conference call for our daily noon lunch hour live stream inside the vault. So I'm going to jump. I appreciate you guys for being with me today. Thanks to Julian and Chef Trez for popping on the live stream. Like the video if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. I hope you guys enjoy Victory Monday. Ravens are 4-2. Next up is Tampa, in Tampa, we think, on Monday Night Football, Week 7. And Sarah and I have a lot coming up for you later this afternoon. So enjoy it. It's a beautiful fall day in Baltimore. A little bit of a chill in the air. And I will catch up with you guys, I'm sure, at another point today. I'll probably do another live stream. You know how it goes. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group for sponsoring this episode and my entire channel. There is a link pinned in the comment section if you'd like to get your if you'd like to check out what Preston has going on right now. A lot of different deals, a lot of different incentives as a Bobby Baltimore subscriber for you. So go check them out. And I appreciate you guys, as always, for joining me on this day after live stream. Lots more content coming up, including John Harbaugh's weekly press conference, which is set for 1 o'clock Eastern. I will be live afterwards. Catch up with you guys soon.